I'm staged in Scream's Lin Manuel-Miranda, and I'm famous from the show A Block Away. And we're here to talk about Grease Live. I, along with many of you, experienced this live on Twitter and freaked out in real time as the bar for what could be done with a movie musical live on screen sort of was raised overnight. So I'm thrilled to get to talk to the people who made that happen tonight, and we'll talk about sort of everything that went into it. So I'd like to introduce them quickly, please. Also, you have to know that, full disclosure, this show was directed by the guy who directed the show Up the Street, Mr. Thomas Kail. And here he is!
Heard my name. I'm sorry.
He is joined by the live television director for Grease Live, Alex Rudzinski. You saw the quick changes. You wondered how they did them in real time. We will get to the bottom of it tonight. Here's William Ivey Long. In New York, you hope and pray that this guy is sitting in on your session because that means it's serious. From Tesley & Co., the casting director, Bernard Tesley. And last but certainly not least, our Danny Zuko, and someone who sort of seemed to get all of the internet pregnant at the same time, Mr. Tveit. Known for stage, you go to the people who are making Grease happen. What is your pitch? How do you get in the room and say, here's what I would like to do with Grease Live? What does that look like?
I have 2 orchestra seats to Lynn's last show. You know, the very early conversations for this show were realized by many of the people that you're seeing up here, as well as a host of others. So one of the very early conversations I had with the folks at Paramount really was a very simple premise. If we're going to put the word live in the title, let's embrace it. Let's wrap our arms around that idea. And let's show the joy of making the thing in front of all these people. Let's celebrate all the people you see on screen. Let's celebrate all the people that you don't get to see by the nature of this work. So that was really very early.
And then they ask you, well, how are you going to deal with the race car scene?
They do. And I said, have you met Alex? You know, there were a couple things that we started talking about early, right? So one of the first conversations I had was, I think we should have a live audience. I think that the musical comedy rhythms of Grease could really benefit from that, and that sort of back and forth. I knew we wanted to do some sort of opening number that showed the wiring. And that was an important early conversation with Mark Platt and the team. Mark Platt's our executive producer. And we also really love the idea of, you know, once an act showing something magical, embracing the theatricality of it, embracing the cinematic nature of it. Really early conversations with John Tollins and Rob Carey, our writers, were about that, as well as David Horns, our set designer.
At what point do you sign on, and when you sign on, what do you circle as, well, okay, this is going to be the hardest part of the night? What, you know,
the race,
what are the challenges?
The casting, definitely. I don't think we knew. I think probably Tommy and me talked about it the first time we met, and almost I had almost a small interview with you, and we were like saying, we were worried as co-directors how the synergy would work, because there aren't that many shows that have worked with where you get to work with another director on the same level. It's a fantastic experience because both of us get to share the worlds that we're not familiar with, to share each other's experiences and to kind of meld those two together. But off the page from the get-go, the racing obviously stood out as how on earth we're going to do it. And we threw a couple of ideas out, some were slightly more lavish than others. I remember at one point I was speaking to Tom, getting really excited, okay, we could potentially shut off a couple of streets we were originally going to shoot at Paramount around Paramount in LA, and hopefully at night LAPD would allow us to shut off the streets and we could shoot the actual race for real on the streets of LA. So I was going, it's exciting, but it might cost a lot of money.
I was worried about Aaron's hair.
And then I thought, okay, well, maybe we could do it. Maybe in miniature, maybe have a little like matchbox cards and you know, do it 100.
It was 500 conversations, guys. We can't really share it.
And to be honest, I don't think we nailed. I don't think we came to the final race scene creative for a good couple of months. And certainly in every meeting that we had at Paramount and with Mark Platt and with Fox, it always got brought up, that and the rain issues. Like, what are you going to do if it rains? And we were like, rain in Los Angeles, a stupid idea.
So, cut to the day of the worst thunderstorm in the history of Los Angeles.
Can I just preface it by saying, the 8 days leading up to the transmission, it was a balmy kind of mid-80s.
I say the 88 days.
Yeah,
up to it.
It was the perfect weather. And then the following 8 days after that.
And I was saying, Mark Platt, from the day we decided to shoot in Los Angeles 6 months before, started like sending emails about Godzilla El Nino. And I'm like, all right, Grandpa, we get it. You know, it's gonna rain. And like, he kept on sending these things, he kept on sending these things. And then if you looked at the weather forecast, on the day of, it wasn't like a 20% chance of rain. It was a 100% chance. And I like stood in the streets of New York during a hurricane, and it was like 80%. So when we woke up that morning, and this is something that affects all departments immediately, the rain was sideways at 8 a.m. And one of the things we had started to do with our choreographer, Zach Woodley, over the previous couple weeks was just make our rain plan and rehearse it as if. And so the umbrellas were things that we talked about very early on, and obviously what it, I think, did was serve as this very magical reminder that we were talking about in those early meetings. This is happening right now in front of you, and our reaction to it also has to be in real time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was thrilling, and you adapted to it beautifully. Aaron, how do you prep for something that's only going to happen once? You know, you've prepped for Broadway shows, it's the 5-week rehearsals, and it's tech. How is that magnified or different from this experience?
It was a very similar, half of it was very similar to getting ready to do 8 shows a week in a Broadway show. And then we stepped on stage with Warner Brothers, and that all came to a crashing halt here in tech for a month. But no, I prepped very much the same way, except it's this really fine line that, if you guys don't know this, opening nights on Broadway usually aren't the best shows. So it was a really hard thing to try to get ready for opening night and to have it be kind of a show that you'd have 6 weeks into a run, you know, which was very difficult. But I think that just the fact that we started it in a rehearsal room with tape on the floor, it just felt very similar. And for me personally, I really leaned on the Les Mis movie experience a little bit, because that was the only thing that I, in a similar way, had to prep for a movie the way that I would prep for being on stage, and then totally turn everything to camera. So just in my own head, I had something to kind of gauge against. But I don't know, with the rain that day, I woke up and the rain was going sideways, and I was like, yeah, it's gonna be fine. And then the funny thing was, I don't know if you guys realize it, I mean, 15 minutes before we went live, we had rehearsed basically the B version of the opening. And we thought we were gonna go with that, and then 2 minutes before the show started, they were like, no, we're going with A. So it was very exciting, but also the rain made it look beautiful. So
the rain coats everything.
Yeah,
the machine that bounces nicely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fabulous. So, Bernie, you're putting together this cast with Tommy, and what you notice from the cast is this mix of theater vets and TV vets. And so, what's your guiding principle when it came to casting this very unique experience? We need to have a very sort of deep skill set.
Yeah, I mean, what was great, because Tommy is so wonderful about that, right from the beginning, it was the sense of, no matter how many productions there have been of Grease, you know, there's going to be diversity in this Grease, and we're not going to worry about the time period. You know what I mean? It's like, everybody knows the story, and we're going to go with it, as you both know so well with your show. So that was exciting, because it allowed me to have a sort of a wider net and a wider freedom that you don't normally get to do. But it was tricky because it's still a television show, and it's all about ratings, and it's all about a studio's point of view, and then the network's point of view, and then you have the creative team's point of view. And, you know, the biggest thing, not from Tommy, but from everyone else, was trying to get them to realize it's still a lot of musical and these people have to sing. You know what I mean? Because, you know, it's still, right, and there's only been 3 of them, right? It's not like movies where you can get a little help with the sound, and you can't do that. You know, you might not have to sing it 8 times a week, but you have to really sing. And that became the biggest sort of education process. Just getting everyone to understand that's what we're looking for. But it's true. You know, at the same time, how wonderful, because it also opened the doors to so many people who don't have the time to commit to a Broadway show and can't commit to a year of rehearsals and performances and can do this for 3 months and who are really, really good at it. I mean, a lot of those women who are not from the Broadway world were fantastic and this gave them that opportunity.
And working with Bernie and Tiffany and Justin in his office, one of the things that was really important for us, this was from early days, is my job is to find people and put them in a position to succeed. And what I was very aware of is that the red light that says on air is an X-ray vision for confidence. And if I haven't prepared them for anything that can happen, and if we haven't prepared them, then we haven't done our jobs. And so there's a certain kind of person that wants to run towards that. And everybody in our show came and found us, we met them halfway. This was not about chasing, this was about people who wanted that challenge. A really intrepid group of performers and crew who said, yes, let's see if we can make that happen. And so, it started, when it started to come together, and it's slow and then fast. The thing about casting is there's nothing, and then all of a sudden someone walks in the room and there's the answer. And it's a really, Kail was all about Aaron Tveit, let me tell you.
Yeah, I mean, that's such an, and I wonder how that also extends to like these great cameos who also met you there, like Boys to Men is Teen Angel in this thing, where again, I was live tweeting the whole thing, as some of you may know, and I watched everyone go, oh my God, Boys to Men in real time, but they're also in this live environment, and they're also making this thing work, and Jonas and Mario Lopez, who is like great and suddenly creepy when he needs to be, and you're like, whoa, this thing is creepy. So it's all, talk a little bit about sort of those sort of cameos that were also so game.
Well, and I've said this many times, my job is to try to identify what the best idea is. And I remember talking to Bernie and his group, and they said, Didi Khan. And I said, yes, it's over, go. Old Frenchy, new Frenchy, internet, melts. Right? He's very savvy, though he's not on Twitter. The Mario Lopez idea, which gave us an opportunity both in the show proper and then in sort of stepping outside of it, Mario was able to sort of bridge both of those gaps. When the folks from Paramount started talking to us about the music opportunities, and I remember, I think Boys 2 was said, and I started yelling, yes. And then and there we are, on the stoop of Full House, by the way. Thank you, Aaron.
Really?
And, yeah, that's awesome. And there's Tom Kitt, our music supervisor, music director, and Tom and I were talking, he's like, I think, what if they did the Boys to Men? Doom, doom, da. And I was like, no. And then next thing I know, it's Tom with Anna Gastein as the 4th member. And I was like, goodbye, internet. Hello, Greece.
Alex, talk to me about that opening shot, because that's that crazy steady cam, 4-minute thing that lays everything bare. I mean, the planning and that seemed low.
It was insane. I have to give a shout out to Olivia, who was the Steadicam operator on that, who did an amazing job. I had 2 Steadicam ops on the show, and they rotated different scenes. God, how many times did we walk that? A few, right? Yes, backwards, a few over 2 months. I think one of the things that we wanted to do from the get-go on Greece was consciously break the 4th wall and say to the viewers, hey, we know where we are, we know what we're doing. We're not shying away from showing all the grisly elements of the fact it's live and it's on a soundstage, it's on a backlot, and there's craziness going on to make this thing live. We kind of wanted to revel a little bit, especially at the top of the show, before it settled into the periodness of the piece. We wanted to just create this fabric around performance and energy that really set the world on fire, and just looked, and there's this, and there's that, but on a single shot, on a one shot. And I think it succeeded fantastically, and especially the way that it segued at the end of it from Jesse's ending notes into that school bell, and then traveling into the first narrative scene. To do that all live, I think that really had a powerful message in terms of establishing the conceit for the whole night. Very well.
And the sustained shot shows the beauty of the performance, because what we're saying is it's going to happen from the beginning and go all the way through. And so the shot not cutting is a reminder of that. So that aesthetic was executed.
And we started on the beach right before it pulled back, and Jesse steps in, and Julianne and I, as soon as the camera was away, sprinted through the gym to our first quick change booth, got changed, and had to wait for the camera to pass, and then sprint around the school, and then I had to be at the locker by the time they landed at the thing, completely dressed in different costumes. So it also started kind of the mayhem of changes all night right in the beginning. Yeah. And actually, Friday was our first dress rehearsal. I don't know if you guys know this, with an audience. And me, I'm a ham. So Julian and I ran through the gym, and the audience was in there, and they started cheering, and I screamed at the top of my lungs to hype the audience. And I was like, I can't do that. I can make it a weekend if I do that. I almost totally torched my voice doing that first.
Oh, breaking news!
But it was fine. It was fine.
William, let's talk about Kiki Palmer's quick change into the USO. Again, speaking from Twitter's perspective, what's even happening? Talk to me about sort of that moment.
Well, I love magical transformations in life, in people's lives, in my life, everybody's life. So I love creating that on the Broadway stage in actual time with no smoke and no mirrors. So when I read the script and I saw in there, and magically goes through the wall and becomes in the USO, and she's all of a sudden, and then comes back and resumes rolling up their hair. And I thought, that's even better than a commercial break. I can't tell you how happy I was with that. No commercial break. So I thought, are you really going to let me try this? And I thought you would. I really thought you would. That's why I made the little doll and everything. And Kiki Palmer was our last Cinderella on Broadway. I don't know if any of you have seen her. She was fantastic. And Nene Leakes was her mother, just saying. She had to be great. And I knew she had sang-froid. She could do anything. But then, and you all saw it. Yeah, you all saw it. So, yeah. But the most brilliant thing of all that you all did, and I couldn't believe it, I just started crying when I saw how clever it was. We did our thing that we do on the Broadway. Kiki changed herself all by herself. No one touched her. She was totally self-contained.
Right, and the way we experience it, zoom in,
and you go into the face,
zoom out, and we're in a
totally different place, and a new David Corrin's world, and then her backup singers did have a little help, and they were the enders. Then she comes back, and instead of doing that, oh my goodness, you allowed us to see the magic. And I was, of course, horrified. Oh, they don't think we can do it? Oh, you don't trust me? And then you said, no, we want to let people in on the joke. And I thought, that's not the joke. And it was so brilliant.
Right.
I started crying.
Yeah, because everyone still thinks there's an edit,
There's an edit.
No one believes what
like in the Grease, I'm jumping to the Grease. I wish we had done that on that because they think we edited it. They were dancing, except for you, they were dancing in 3 layers of overalls. They're young. They're older now, and it's not 8 shows a week. Those guys were wearing 3 layers.
I mean, you're talking about Grease Lightning? The car had a costume change.
The car had a costume.
And I was like, this is a William Ivey Long production.
But I couldn't believe it. That was so darn clever. And it sparked, and she was just winking at you, and then came right back in and continued the story. Like, oh, I mean, come on.
William's show with Nene Leakes coming soon. Can we run a clip? I would like to watch the hand jive sequence if you all don't mind. Can we run the hand jive sequence? I want to talk about this.